Yeah, good evening. I'm Alex Hammick. I'm the COO of Digital Fineprint. Apologies if I'm going over a few little bits of old news. I recognise some people in the audience. I know they may have seen us before. Digital Fineprint, we are a insurtech and VC-backed startup. We are based here in London, and we are, as it says there, using social media data and turning that into insurance data. Now, we're not just turning it into insurance data, we're turning it into actionable insights for marketing, for risk, for pricing, for underwriting. And I'm really glad that Co and Tim have talked a little bit about some of the things that we're helping insurers and brokers to do, and that's around mass personalization, and that's around bringing the sort of social elements of insurance and the purchasing journey to life. So a lot of things on there you know already, but I think this is quite a powerful point. How many of you, before you even got to work this morning, and by a show of hands, had been on some kind of social network, LinkedIn, Facebook? That's the result I always get, and it's actually quite scary when you think about it. But 52 terabytes, that's the amount of data that if you digitalized all the books ever written since the written word began, you could fit it onto 52 1 terabyte hard drives. 604 terabytes, that's the amount of data that is generated on social media by 2.5 billion users of social media on a daily basis. 12 times the amount of data is created in 24 hours. And I see a couple of people smacking their heads thinking that is absolutely ridiculous, but it is true. And that is probably an underestimation, because that's a little bit old now, 2016 numbers. So there is an incredible amount of data on social media, and there's an incredible amount of personalization available from that data. But it links into a lot of the processes that not just insurers, but also wider sectors use as part of their engagement with customers these days. So essentially, Digital Fineprint, what we're allowing insurers and brokers to do is to use that social data in a GDPR compliant, consent-driven, and clear and transparent way to personalize people's customer journeys. Now, we're talking about everything from the marketing that you put in front of them. We're not just saying, hey, buy our product. We're a product provider. Of course we're going to tell you to buy our product. But we're actually being able to say to people, Alex, people like you, people that like biking, people that are in their late 20s, early 30s, that live in London, that work in this space, that have this type of friends group, that have these type of interests outside of work, they typically buy this type of insurance. And as Co has already said, we are a social race. We like to compare ourselves. If you go on Amazon, you want to compare what one pair of shoes looks like against another before you buy it. And then you send it on to your spouses to say, hey, buy this for Christmas. Nothing is a surprise anymore. You always say to people, hey, I've looked at this and this is what I want. We also go on TripAdvisor. I've just planned a trip overseas next year, and I spent probably the last month trying to choose, do I go to this hotel, do I go to that B&B? Because I've gone onto TripAdvisor and I've compared it against people's experiences that they've already had. We like to be compared against other people. We like to have an emotive purchasing journey. And that's essentially what Digital Fineprint allows us, insurers and brokers to do. We're integrating Facebook, and we're integrating LinkedIn and other social data sets into the purchasing journey. That actually allows us in real time to make recommendations to people. So in this case, this is Reckon. This is our white label solution that we're delivering to insurers and to brokers. And essentially we're saying, mobile optimized, of course, because people do it on the fly. I'm sure I'm not telling people things that they already know. However, nobody goes home, sits down with a nice glass of wine, turns on some nice music and says, oh, I'm looking forward to a really good insurance purchasing session now. They typically do it at lunch, on the fly, and probably 90% of them will get a bit of a quote, say I'll come back to that at a later date. But what we enable insurers and brokers to do is deliver a personalized quote, a personalized product recommendation to people based on their social media profile. And we're not just putting our finger in the air and saying to people, hey, we reckon you need this. We're actually cross-correlating it through causation against existing underwriting data. So we are taking an insurer's book of business or a broker's book of business, understanding behind that book of business who are the people that are buying this type of insurance? Why are they buying it? Where are they coming from? What are the indicators? What are the markers? What are the predictive aspects to the insurance that they purchased? And, for example, what makes somebody buy more than one policy? What makes somebody buy home and car? What makes somebody, as a business, buy cyber and D&O and flood insurance? And if we can identify them on the back end, we can then go and target them on the front end. So, 3 things I want to pick up in terms of what makes a good customer experience. And I just want to caveat this. I'm absolutely along the same lines as Tim. I'm not here to tell you how to do your jobs. We're an enabler. We like working with the insurance community. We're not a disruptor. I'm not here to tell you how bad it is. We're here to say, how can we help you make your existing processes better? Because you've been around for over 300 years, over 3,000 years, as per Tim's Babylon comment. But how can we make your processes better and help you to have a better interaction with your customers? So, customers' willingness to share data, how do you access the platforms, and making sense of the data. I've got 4 minutes left, and I promise you I'll finish on time. FCA, ICO, GDPR compliance, showing people, if you give me your data, you will get something in return. People say to me, oh, people never share their data. I guarantee if most of you go onto your Facebook apps on your phones, you will be sharing it with probably 40 or 50 people. I did this with a friend of mine at dinner party about 3 weeks ago. He didn't speak to me for about the next hour and a half because he was too busy deleting the apps off his Facebook, which kind of killed the dinner conversation for him. Showing people how you're going to use your data. If you show them, this is how we're going to use it, and this is what you're going to get in return, people will do it. And I'm talking not only the millennial generation, but a significant amount of 60-pluses are on Facebook nowadays because it's how they connect with their families. It's not new. Everybody's done it before. We've probably all used this. Spotify, log into your Facebook and we'll give you product or song recommendations. Expedia, we can look at where you've traveled and give you not only potential deals, but we can also say, hey, have you thought about other places that are quite similar? TransferWise, we can look at the places you've been to and we can give you great deals on potential exchange rates. So it's not new. It is for insurance, though. In the last 2.5 minutes, what I want to focus on is, if you look at all the technology that's coming through these days, you see insurance is a little bit up here. A huge web of technologies that are enabling, not just insurance, but we're talking about banking, we're talking about retail. And one thing I do want to bring up is, there's a statistic from 2016. If you look at how many times people interacted with different types of business that they're buying from, 450 interactions a year with social media on average. So on average, an individual will have 450 interactions a year. Banking, surprisingly, is about 150. Do you know how many times people interact with their insurers on an annual basis? Close, 4 times. And actually, I spoke to someone the other day who said, yeah, but we don't want to interact with our customers because the more they interact, the more they're likely to go away from us. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a tough sell. This is sort of following on from the previous one. This is within the insurance community. And if you look at how many disruptors that are out there, within there are enablers. And INSTANDA are an enabler. Digital Fineprint are an enabler. We're not here to try and steal your lunch. We're here to make your lunch better. So, in the last minute, what does a good customer experience look like? We've already talked about transparent, consent-driven, and clear. We've already talked about how do you educate, how do you add value, not just as a provider, not just saying, hey, buy my products because I'm a provider and I would tell you to buy them because that's how I make money, but more a case of this is what you need and this is why you need them. And more importantly, this is what you're going to get in return, not only for sharing your data, but in return for buying our product. This is how we're going to protect you. So getting something in return for your time and your money. It's a two-way interaction and a concept of fairness, in the same way that it's an emotive buy, in the same way that people in the same with TripAdvisor, like to compare their trips with another person's. I want something in return for the money that I'm giving you, not just protection. Solutions and processes you're familiar with. Mobile, single sign-on. It's not new, but it's simple, it's quick, it's efficient. Like I said, people don't do this, sitting down, listening to classical FM with a glass of wine. And finally, because my 10 minutes is up, always on, understanding when and how the customer wants to interact. It's not 9 to 5, it's 24/7, 365. Because if I have an accident at 10 o'clock in the evening on Christmas Day, I want to be able to claim, I want to be able to get in touch with my provider. And it comes back to customer experience that we talked about beforehand. I was going to flick up something about insurtechs and startups, however I've run over, and I'd be happy to take questions at the end. So thank you very much indeed for listening, and good evening.